What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dre Area Sports Show. I'm joined by former Kron 4 associate Drew Foerder. What's going on, Drew?
Dre Area!
What's going on, man?
Long time no talk, bro.
I know. So look, Drew is a very in-depth, deep mind when it comes to sports, especially Bay Area sports. And so I thought, what a better way to talk about the Niners and talk about the upcoming game against the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl in Vegas and have Drew Foerder on the show with us. So, Drew, what's going on, dude? And man, talk about a game on Sunday, this past Sunday for championship weekend.
What a game. The emotions. It was just incredible, man. I mean, at halftime, I was ready to jump off my patio right here. I mean, that thing was over. And to see that team and Brock Purdy use his legs over and over again and make those decisions that, Jimmy G just never would have made. I mean, he just would have crumbled in those situations. And, the thing that I keep thinking about, especially when I was watching that game, I'm like,
Jimmy G.
Jimmy
Hey,
G. I mean,
if you become a member now, you're going to get a free Jimmy Garoppolo jersey.
Yeah, exactly. God, I mean, it's amazing to think that Jimmy G was the freaking quarterback like 2 years ago, dude.
He was our white knight. I mean, he was the savior at one point. And look, say what you want about Jimmy G. He was a good Niner for the most part. He took the team places that we hadn't been in a long time. So,
and I'm going to talk about that a little later when we talk about the Super Bowl in 2019 because Jimmy G was actually pretty fucking good in that game until
he threw two picks in that game.
Until the end,
that was like, come on, Jimmy. Yeah,
but just as that game was going on, man, it was crazy. It was like unbelievable to just watch Brock Purdy take that game over and make those decisions. And it reminded me of Joe Montana, man. I'm telling you, I couldn't believe my eyes. He did it 2 weeks in a row when it mattered the most, and the Niners are going to the fucking Super Bowl. And I'm excited about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and the shit he did in that game was pretty impressive. I mean, when we look at the stats, let's go ahead and pull that up as well. You look at what he did. He went 20 of 31 for 267 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but he had an 89 quarterback rating. Now, granted, the first half, and this is something that I think Kyle Shanahan has to look at coming into the Super Bowl, is that both games against the Packers and against the Detroit Lions, they got off to extremely slow starts, which is not really indicative of how they've conducted their offense all season long. They've been a team that's been about, starting fast, getting leads, blowing teams out, and we really just haven't seen that at all in the postseason. I'm not sure why. I know that, Kyle Shanahan has said that he will always defer to the second half. If he wins the coin toss, he will always defer. And I'm wondering, should the Niners change that up and maybe they should receive the ball going into the Super Bowl and start off with the offense?
No, I disagree. Stick with what's worked. They're not, and you already know, dude. They're going to defer if they win.
They're going to defer.
You already know that.
Stick with what works. I mean, this guy tried it, and it did not work. So,
I mean, listen. We all know Kyle, right? What does Kyle love most? He loves getting that score at the end of the first half, and then getting the ball back and getting the first score. And it's like the only, according to Kyle, it's the only time in the game where you get like a free turnover. I don't know what the fuck he calls it, but you basically get 2 possessions in a row, and you have an opportunity to, if let's say they're up, and I have an idea of what's going to happen in the Super Bowl because I'm Nostradamus and I already know what's going to happen. But
okay, there we go.
But like if let's say they're up 17-10 at the end of the first half in the Super Bowl. That's Kyle's opportunity there. He knows that they can then maybe go up 2 scores and then take over the game. So they're not going to change. What they need to do is play some fucking defense in the first half.
They need to play some defense.
Play defense.
And that's been one of the biggest things about the Niners in the postseason is that their defense has not played up to the standard that we're used to. I think that guys like Javon Hargrave, hasn't done shit. And this is a guy who, for his career, has 3 sacks in the postseason. I mean, he was with the Pittsburgh and with the Eagles, and he's done nothing. A big 0. I don't even think he has. I don't even know how many tackles he has. If so, it's not many. And he hasn't been a factor on the defensive line. And this guy's supposed to be a pass rushing expert. It's why they brought him in here. They paid him fucking like what, $40 million to come in here, and he hasn't done jack shit. Now, granted, I thought he had a pretty good season. It wasn't terrible, but he had a good year. But so far in the postseason, he has not been a factor. I've seen plays where Armstead has gotten through and gotten pressure on the quarterback, but again, he hasn't. You're looking at 2 teams, right? The Packers and the Lions, both of which had an outstanding offensive line. And that's one thing I think that fans need to realize. The Green Bay Packers were the second best team in protecting the quarterback against the pass rush. And you saw that because when they played against the Dallas Cowboys, they had 0 sacks on Jordan Love. Same thing with the Niners. They had 0 sacks against Jordan Love.
Yep.
Their offensive line was playing at a level that was so high. Not to mention their blocking scheme as well in the run game was doing extremely well. And then you go to the Lions, and that was one of their strong points was their offensive line. And they were just pushing the Niners around. I mean, David Montgomery was running the ball with ease, right up the middle.
Penei Sewell looked like a Hall of Famer, which he may end up being. But, well, listen, here's the thing, man. You're right. Both Green Bay and Detroit pushed us around in the first halves in both of those games and dominated the line of scrimmage. I was as shocked as anybody that happened, especially with Detroit. I mean, let's think about the first half against Detroit. Dude, that first drive, oh my God. Okay, it literally looked like Detroit, like receivers, Gibbs, Montgomery. They had holes the size of fucking Texas out there. There were no defenders. Bosa was getting basically running, missing the edge every single time, and they had just gaping holes. And it did not. It looked literally like we were fucked. Like I didn't see any way out of it. And somehow, some way, they went into that locker room, and maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was Kyle lit into him. I don't know if it was Steve Wilkes, because everyone was like, were you on Twitter at halftime, dude?
Everybody's ready to kill him.
Steve Wilkes might as well have been gone.
But he made adjustments, though. He made adjustments in the second half that really showed in stopping the run. Not as good as they should have, but they had a better success in stopping the run in the second half than they did in the first half. Everything turned around, because the thing is that the 49ers, what they do is they have the depth. They have the ability to just keep rolling guys in, and that is why John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, that's why they've done what they've done. That's why they brought in Randy Gregory. That's why they brought in the guys that, can take over. I mean, Javon Kinlaw. Let's think about Javon Kinlaw. He's the kind of player that I think he's been a lot more effective than Javon Hargrave, whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah, I
think Kinlaw's been great.
Javon Hargrave is more of a pass rusher, so I think that, when you look at the defensive line, there were a few plays that I know a lot of fans saw. I saw it myself, where Chase Young wasn't giving 100% in some of these plays, and I think that Chase Young is better suited as a third down lineman, just as a pass rusher. And maybe that's the same for Javon Hargrave. I think sometimes you have to have Kinlaw and Armstead in there as more of a run-stopping threat, as opposed to Hargrave, he tends to get pushed around. And against the Lions, I saw so many plays where he literally just got stood up at the line and wasn't getting any penetration.
The effort as far as Hargrave goes is just not there. And I don't know if he's lacking the motivation, or because he got paid, or because he just doesn't give a shit. I don't know. But he's got to play better in the Super Bowl. Everybody knows it, if they want to have a chance to win this game, because they're going to have to get pressure on Mahomes. They're going to have to do it. And they got a lot of pressure on Mahomes in the last time they played in the Super Bowl, but it still wasn't enough. They're going to have to get even more to win this game.
Yeah, I think that, yes, look, the easiest keys to the game that anyone's going to tell you is going to be that, they got to get pressure on Mahomes, and they got to shut down Kelsey. Well, guess what? out of the 16 weeks or 16 games they played, everybody's tried to do the same thing. Everyone tried to shut down Kelsey. You're probably not going to shut him down all that much because he's sort of unstoppable because that's how good he is, especially with Mahomes in the postseason. Now, I think when it comes to getting pressure on Mahomes, yes, but I think the more important thing is to set a pocket to contain him in that pocket and apply pressure, similar to what they did with Jalen Hurts, where they surrounded him and literally you had Nick Bosa who was bull rushing just to push the lineman towards him and apply that kind of pressure. And I think you have to try to contain Patrick Mahomes. He's going to make incredible passes. There's passes that Goff made that he was unable to make that I know that Mahomes can make, and I'm just like, man. He missed that pass, but I know Patrick Mahomes will probably hit that pass. So,
well, I will say this: if Reynolds doesn't drop those 2 passes, like especially that first 4th and 2, we're probably not even talking this week about a Super Bowl. Like, I know everybody.
If he doesn't go for it on fourth down 3 times, I mean, it's like, come on, man, what are you doing? And that's the other thing too. Look, I've heard the argument when it comes to the NFC title game. I've heard the argument that, oh, well, he was doing what he's done all year. Why would you go against what he's done all year? And he's going to tell his team that he doesn't trust them in the playoffs. No, it's not that. What it is this: when you're playing in a fucking NFC title game, you don't go for it on 4th down 3 fucking times. You don't. And then why is it at the end of the half when it's 4th down and 2 on the 2-yard line, you kick a fucking field goal?
Why do you not call a timeout there?
But at the end, it's like
why did you do that?
He kicked the field goal at the end of the half, and you can argue, well, those were guaranteed points. But if you would have fucking ran a play that scored a touchdown, that would have been the fucking ball game right there. I mean, that would have put the foot to the Niners' throats, and we'd be talking about next season.
He missed the boat. It's kind of like he doesn't understand. He doesn't get like the moment yet. He wasn't able to read the room. He's kind of a meathead. He's like a fucking dumbass.
But the problem is that he was coaching this game as a player, and not as a coach. As a player, I even heard Keyshawn Johnson talking about this. He was like, as a player, we all want to score. We all want to go for it on 4th down. We all want to score touchdowns. But you have to be strategic. And I'm sorry, if his players were like, Coach, we've been going for it all year on 4th down. Why aren't we going for it now? I think they're intelligent enough to say, this is the NFC title game. We have a lead. Let's keep adding on to our lead. But that goes to show you that his kicker must have sucked that fucking bad that he did not want to give him the chance to kick the fucking ball.
But he didn't. The kicker didn't.
The Fox broadcast didn't talk about the inaccuracies of the kicker or, how bad he was. All they kept saying was, oh, he's going to go for it. But at the same time, look, we know that if he went for it, if he would have made those 4th downs, everyone would be saying, oh, he's got the balls to go for it on 4th down. Patrick Mahomes is going to be in trouble in the Super Bowl. They would have been sucking his cock. And I'm sorry, but that's what it is. We got Nerd Coast and Osha. What's up? What's up, Sean?
What's up, Nerd Kosa? I don't know who you are, but you sound awesome.
He's an awesome guy. He's amazing. So look, Dan Campbell, I mean, he completely coughed up that game, dude. He had that game handed to him. And he didn't have anything to do with them getting that lead. What the fuck does he do to call plays? It's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's the one that's calling all the plays. I actually felt that if Ben Johnson would have left the Lions, they would be a lot worse next season, depending on who they got as their offensive coordinator. I think a guy like Dan Campbell leans heavily on his coordinators, and Dan Campbell reminds me of a better version of Mike Singletary. Where he's just like, let's go, and he motivates
I want winners. I can't coach them. I can't have them. I want winners.
Can't win with them.
Can't win with them, can't coach him.
Hey, but that speech alone got him a job. There were, Jed York was like, I want him to be.
Got him a job for like 6 months, and then they're like,
but everybody wanted him though. Everybody wanted the Ravens were trying to interview him.
Get out of here. They're like, get out of here. You can't coach football.
Well, Singletary was he was the NFL's version of like Mark Jackson, where he didn't call plays. He was just a motivator, and like, I have experience. Listen to what I'm saying. I will motivate you. And then after a while, within 1 year, it was like, yeah, this shit it's not working out.
No,
He's a great player and a great individual,
no,
but still. But back to that championship game against the Niners. Look, the Lions had many opportunities to put the Niners away, and the Niners were able to stop them. The Niners were able to stop them.
They had to.
Well, but at the same time, though, they persevered through all of that. And every time they went for it on fourth down and failed, what would happen? The Niners would get the ball back, and they go down and score.
And that was the turning point. Yeah, those were all the turning points of the game.
And the pass to Ayuk, holy shit. That bounced off the defender's head, and he caught it midair. I mean, it was an incredible catch.
That was fate. I mean, that was the moment, right? It was like,
it was fate.
You couldn't believe, you couldn't write up a script. And that's why they're going to make a movie about this season. It's going to be like the Underdog, that stupid movie with Kurt Warner that I hope nobody will ever watch because it was so bad.
What's his name?
Oh, Lord.
The guy who played Shazam, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that movie was so fucking bad. But no.
He'll get something.
Like even on that pass though, like Purdy's deep ball is kind of shit, dude. I'm sorry, but that's kind of another story.
Well, but, I mean, look, when we look at other quarterbacks who have a better deep ball, like let's say Josh Allen, the guy throws picks every game, but nobody gets on his case about it because they're like, "Wow, he's a big, strong quarterback. He could do that." I mean, he's very he has this reckless abandonment when it comes to throwing the ball. He's just like, "Oh, there he is. Fuck it." Hopefully, either I'm going to hit him or it's going to be a pass interference or it gets picked off. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I missed it. Oh, I mean, well, fuck it.
He's kind of a meathead too, Josh Allen.
He is.
I mean, listen, Brock Purdy, just going back to Purdy for a minute, because I don't think we've given him enough credit. Brock Purdy, dude, he stays so calm and collected. And I'm kind of a nostalgic Niner fan. Like I've been just like you, man. We're about the same age. I've been watching the Niners since I was, fucking 3 years old. And my dad used to take me to Candlestick. We'd take the bus from San Mateo. And Brock Purdy, dude, he's got a little bit of Joe in him. I'm telling you. And the reason why is because Joe Montana, and maybe Tom Brady was a little bit, I don't know, man. I don't like Tom Brady. But Joe Montana he knew exactly when to move. Okay, so let's just I wish you had the highlight of this play, but let's focus on that play. When I can't remember when it was in the game, but Purdy goes back. It's the second half. He's about to get sacked. He spins out. He moves to his left, and he's about to get hit, and he hits Kyle Juszczyk on the sideline. His feet are like hanging on the sideline. That for 10 yards. That was the greatest fucking play I've ever seen, dude. Go back and watch that play.
That was a what do you call it? Momentum swinging play. They were going to sack him. He breaks away and he throws to Juszczyk, who on his tippy toes gets a first down.
I mean, it's a great catch by Juszczyk, and it's a great by him. But if you watch the play, Purdy, his athleticism is unbelievable. Like how he spins out of that tackle, and then let's talk about the three runs. I mean, the first one when he almost ran over Debo when he was coming down on the left side,
he was motoring too.
That play was, he's got fucking balls, dude. He's not sliding. He is ready for a fight, and he's fighting for extra yards. My favorite play of the game is his run. When they're at midfield late in the game, they're coming down, ready to close them out. They're up 27-24, and he outruns the linebacker. And then he cuts back inside, and that was when I was like. Daniel, I was going crazy, bro, on that play. I was screaming. I'm like, that's it. We have won this fucking game.
Oh, what about this one here? This was a good play right here.
And together. Purdy thinking about
not going to make it.
Not going to get there. Back across one-handed catch.
And again, he's the only receiver that could have made that catch because he's tall enough, but Brock understood that. He's like, if I throw it right there, he can get it. And I've heard people say oh, well, that was a lucky throw. No, it wasn't. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He did that. He's done that multiple times this year. He did it. I mean, think about that play. I don't know if you have it, but you probably don't. But that play against Washington, that touchdown pass to Ayuk against Washington, against the Commanders.
Yeah.
When he gets out again, he spins out of a tackle, a sack. He rolls to his right. He pump fakes. He stops. He throws the ball all the way fucking back to his left. And Ayuk's just standing there waiting for the ball. It's like those are the kind of plays, Dre, that it's going to take for us to win this Super Bowl. Like that.
Absolutely.
And I believe it. I believe in him. We'll talk about it, but I am 100%. Even if Purdy does struggle in the first half, which is probably understandable because he's going to be nervous. I don't care how calm you are. Like that first drive, it's going to be like, fuck, I'm in Vegas and this is the Super Bowl. He's probably going to implode, from inside. But once he gets comfortable, and I do think that, this fucking guy right here, see that guy right there?
Yeah.
We didn't have this guy in 2019.
We didn't.
And we're going to talk about that. And he's the great equalizer, Christian McCaffrey.
Well, I think, he represents the Niners version of like a Tyreek Hill, where you can put him, as a wide receiver. You can hand him the ball. He can come out of the backfield for a check down pass to give you a first down. He can do a lot of different things. And it's going to be about how Kyle Shanahan uses him. I think that in this game, we really have to use a lot of what do you call it? There's a lot of motion in the backfield, moving guys around.
Misdirection.
Misdirection. You have to really confuse the best you can of Steve Spagnuolo, because now, look, Spagnuolo's never going to – I don't think he's going to be a head coach ever again. I think he's just, I'm a coordinator, and this is what I'm going to do. I mean, he's been with Andy Reid now for how many years?
It's been at least 6-7 years.
But it's plays like this where it just shows what Brock can do. And so let's take a look at this.
Third down, 4-man rush. Purdy in some trouble. Escapes, looking for the first down. He's got it and more. Brock Purdy with the legs inside the third.
That's what I was screaming.
And the crazy thing about it, too, is that at this point, right, you can say what you want about Brock Purdy, but when you watch this play, unfold, this guy right here, he's playing a spy on Brock Purdy. That's how much they were concerned about his mobility at this point. And look,
third down,
see, here he is.
Rush.
Yeah.
And he outruns
it.
Escapes, looking for the first down.
He got right by him. And it's incredible because when you look at, so he ran for more yards than what's his face? Lamar Jackson, right?
Oh yeah. Lamar Jackson was, well, we can talk about him. He was shit in that game.
And the thing when it comes to like the Ravens and Chiefs game, right? Now everyone will say, well, hey, they shut down the Ravens offense. That's how good their defense is. But if you look at, if you go back to the game against the Niners, right? The game where Brock threw like 5 interceptions and it was like a complete mess, right? If you look at the first half, what was the score on the first half?
And it was in the first half, it was 17-10.
It was still a close game. No,
I think it was 17.
Less than that.
No, I thought they got to 17 in the front. I could look it up. But I thought
I thought it was 10-7. All I know is that it was a close ass fucking game going into the second half, which shows that the Niners were able to contain the Ravens the first half to not blow out the Niners, even though they were giving the ball up left and right. And so they were forcing them into a lot of field goals. But when you saw them go against the Chiefs, this is the problem that I found with the Ravens offense, is that outside of Lamar Jackson, who is your other star? It's not Gus Edwards. It's not Mark Andrews.
I was going to say.
It's not fucking old ass.
It's definitely not
Beckham.
It's definitely not Flowers who cost them the game.
But at that point, Flowers was your probably your most dynamic receiver.
Flowers really, if it wasn't for a great fucking strip, like Flowers should have scored, and that would have tied the game.
He should have scored.
He's like an inch away. He's reaching, and it's and that's the thing that I think we need to talk about when we preview this game is Kansas City. Their defense is so good. And
their defense is well disciplined, and they know what they have to do. And they got really good defensive backs. But the biggest
Chris Jones scares the shit out of me because he killed us in the last Super Bowl.
And I think he also got he batted down Garoppolo's pass on that last drive. And if he would have hit Debo on that pass, Debo would have been. He had so much open grass ahead of him too.
We wouldn't have, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't. We wouldn't have had. Well, he also missed that throw to. Let's not forget he missed that wide open Emmanuel Sanders down the middle, which was devastating, dude.
I think if that's Brock Purdy, I think he hits him because he was well ahead of the receiver. He was well ahead of the defenders. He was I
rewatched the game. I actually sat there and I rewatched the game a couple days ago.
Game to watch. It's a brutal
game.
No,
man, up until 7-10 left in the fourth quarter, it was amazing. They had just picked him off for Mahomes for the second time. They were up 20-10. And then, you know what, Dre, this is a great time for me to talk about that game just for a minute.
All right, go ahead.
3rd and 15. Should we talk about that 3rd and 15 play? Okay. They get pressure on Mahomes, dude. They're in the backfield. Bosa's about to crack him. There's a hold on the play that does not get called. Okay, let's talk about that. And by the way, Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith, these guys, all they do is hold for Kansas City of their tackles. And we better see some fucking holding calls in this Super Bowl. But anyways, that's another story. They're about to get to him. Mahomes off his back foot, out of nowhere, Emmanuel Mosley somehow blows the coverage, and Tyreek Hill is waiting there for it's like a punt, and he's just standing there, and the ball freaking drops out of the heavens, and then it's after that it was we turned to garbage.
It was never
and then Damian Jones turns into Walter Payton, and it's I watched that game back, Dre area, and I'm the Niners, something happened to them. The moment was too big for them. Maybe they were too young. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was Shanahan, the play calling. I think I can't remember if it was that he didn't run it enough and maybe left him too much time, but they basically imploded, dude. They imploded, and I agree, Daniel. Brock, McCaffrey, using their legs in this game, I think is going to be huge because Jimmy Garoppolo, that guy was like a statue. And in that last drive, you go back and watch that. If you watch that last drive, especially that last 4th down play, that got batted down, he freaking had no chance, when you have no chance, and it happened again, Dre, in the NFC title game against the Rams in 2021 on that last drive. When he got pressure on him, when he was rolling out, he had no chance. Well, we're not, just like Daniel, I like his comment. When Brock Purdy has the ball, dude, we have a chance. We have a chance to make those off-planned plays that I think can really make the difference in this game. And when you go back and watch that last Super Bowl, we didn't have that. And we also had Raheem Mostert, who is not an eighth of the running back.
Well, he's not Christian McCaffrey. Is.
He's not. No, he's not. So I think that, the experience that we got from that game, and remember, think about the rookies that we had in that game. Nick Bosa was a rookie. Deebo Samuel was a rookie. Mm-hmm. He led the team in receiving that game in the Super Bowl. He was a freaking rookie. But let's think about this. Okay, we didn't have Brandon Ayuk. We didn't have Juwan Jennings. We had fucking Emmanuel Sanders. We had what's his name? The guy that went to the Patriots, 84. Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne was kind of shit, dude. And
I like Kendrick Bourne.
He was all right.
He was a good 3rd down receiver.
He made one catch in the Super Bowl. I watched it. And then George Kittle was not. He just wasn't the same player as he is now. And then also there were some plays in that game that were horribly called. There was a Do you remember that offensive pass interference call against George Kittle at the end of the first half in that game?
Bullshit. That was absolute bullshit.
It was a 45-yard catch down the sideline with 20 seconds left in the first half.
Yeah.
He barely pushes off, and they call that shit, and that would have been a field goal. We would have gone into the half up 13-10 instead of 10-10.
Well, and that's the thing too is that, like, why even make that call?
Head, by the way, behind me.
Yeah, it's fine. No, but why even make that call and disrupt the game the way you did? It was not that big. Like, I just thought that was such a bullshit call. And not only that, but like, in the fourth quarter, Jimmy Garoppolo rolled out to his right and ran out of bounds. And as he's going out of bounds, he gets fucking clobbered by a Chiefs defender, and they didn't call late hit. And everyone on the sidelines is like, "Hey, that's a penalty," and they didn't call it. And so, yeah, people can argue that, like, hey, look, I think they wanted the Chiefs to win. I'm not going to go there with the whole conspiracy theory thing.
No.
But that was a bullshit call. And this is what worries me about the Super Bowl is that when it comes to the Super Bowl, I'm afraid that anytime the Niners defenders touch Mahomes without a ball, they're going to call a penalty regardless. Like, oh, you breathe on him? You know, roughing the passer. I mean, so they have to be very careful. I mean, look, we saw against the Ravens. I mean, look, some of those, I would agree that those two calls should have been made. Jadeveon Clowney, like pushing him onto the ground. I was like, okay, you're a big dum-dum. Like, why are you doing that for? And then the other guy who basically clubbed Mahomes in the face.
Yeah.
I was like, they're glued.
That was a clothesline, dude.
That was a clothesline. And those were plays that, like, yeah, that should have been called. That was ridiculous. But the Niners have to make sure they don't do dumb shit like that because it will cost them the game.
Well,
15-yard penalties will cost you the game.
It's a great point that you make, but the good news is that the Niners don't usually get a lot of roughing the passer calls against them. At least from what I've seen this year. I mean, I could go back and look at the stats and see which team had the most of them. And again, I'm gonna say this again. Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith, they led the league in holding penalties.
They do. Okay? And Nick Bosa said it himself.
Yeah, I think he made the quote yesterday, but especially Donovan Smith. Oh, there you go.
Them, on film, Taylor's, I think, leads the NFL with a ton of penalties. Anything stand out when you watch him?
They hold a lot.
They do. They hold a lot. And now
he's such a boring motherfucker, dude. He's so boring.
But will they make those calls in the Super Bowl? I mean, we'll find out. But let's take a look at this real quick. So this is the stats for, you know what? Since we're talking about the game, I might as well bring up the banner.
Oh, my God. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, it's not on Fox. It's on CBS.
I know. I fucking hate it on CBS, too.
Welcome, friends, to the Super Bowl. Oh, what do you think, Tony? Oh, I don't know.
Oh man,
this is the
third down. They really got to watch out. Oh boy,
I just can't wait to tee off at tomorrow morning. God.
So this is a run defense in the league. So we're looking at the Niners have the number one run defense, but I mean that's a lot of it's based on the fact that they got early leads on teams, and so far in the postseason they've been really crappy against the run. So they really got to shore that up. But then when you look down here, where are the Chiefs? Oh, there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're the 10th ranked rushing defense. They gave up almost 2,000 yards, and they average 4.5 a carry. So the Niners have a really big opportunity to really blow this game up by running the ball with Christian McCaffrey. But because I think that, obviously Chris Jones is going to be an impact player. I think that their secondary is a lot better, and we can take a look at that as well. So this is a receiving defense, and okay, now let's come up. Must be passing. Let's see. There it is. Again, all the way down here. I think it's the same ranking, isn't it? So
your NFL.com stat looking is it's unbelievable, bro.
So they gave up the fourth most passing yards in the league.
Wow.
With 3,300, over 3,000 yards. The Niners
are way down regular
here.
Season. These are regular season stats, though, right?
They are, but it's still
have you looked at the
postseason?
Have you looked at the postseason stats? Listen, dude. They're a hot defense right now. They're
very
playing
hot.
They're playing well, but there are the things that you say worry you about the Super Bowl. They actually make me more optimistic because I think Okay, I think that Green Bay and Detroit, I think they were more explosive offensively. And I know that sounds crazy to hear because we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, but I really believe that Detroit and Green Bay were humming offensively coming into both of those games. I know that they were super Green Bay. I mean, can you have more momentum than Green Bay had coming into that game after what they did to Dallas? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Detroit, I mean, their offense, having those 2 home games, they were humming. Kansas City hasn't done that much offensively, dude.
No, I mean, they only scored 17 points against the Ravens. Now, granted, the Ravens have a good defense, but the Ravens, to me, didn't look like a top caliber defense in that entire game. They also did not have the Ravens. They did not have a dynamic offense that they should have. They should have unleashed Lamar Jackson and had him running at every turn. Like, hey, if you see a lane, take it. And they didn't do that. In fact, they're like, oh, Lamar Jackson caught his own pass. If he hadn't ran over and done that, that would have been picked off by the guy who deflected it. So, again, I think that the reason why they look so anemic is the fact that they had no stars. They didn't have a star receiver. They don't have a Deebo Samuel. They don't have a Brandon Ayuk, a Christian McCaffrey, a George Kittle. They don't. And that's what hurt is because you can play them straight up. And other than Flowers, who has the speed, he was their most dynamic receiver. And what did he do? He had a unnecessary roughness a taunting penalty at one of the biggest moments of the game. And then he got the ball knocked out for a fumble, which was really, that was the defender for the Chiefs. That was his play. I mean, that was incredible what he did.
But let's also just look at like Kansas City. Okay, yeah, Kelsey had a great game, and Taylor Swift, whoop-de-fucking.
I don't want to talk about Taylor Swift.
I know you don't want to. I'm surprised you don't have like a meme or something to show.
I don't want to make that into something, and then
all right, you don't want to talk about it. All right. But
it's fine. I'm just saying. I just think it's so stupid.
Well, it's gonna be a factor in the game. I mean, I think
it's gonna be on the screen multiple times.
If you want to make some money, on a prop bet, how many times she's gonna get shown on the screen. But okay, let's just think about like what Kansas City did offensively against the Ravens. And I know the Ravens are a world-class defense. I mean, look what Mike McDonald, he got hired by the Seattle Seahawks yesterday. And there's a reason why, because their defense was absolutely incredible. But the longest pass play of the game was the pass to Valdez-Scantling at the end of the game. That last play, it was, like a 35, 40-yard play that sealed the game. That was the longest pass play of the game.
32-yard pass.
32-yarder.
And he went over the top because they were trying to stuff the box to make sure that they weren't going to get that short yardage first down, and he went over the top, and he hit him, and that was the ball game.
Okay, so they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, right? Who is their deep threat? Who is Kansas City?
Valdez-Scantling or Rashee Rice. Really, it's Travis Kelce. I mean, Kelce had 11 catches for 116 yards. But I'm saying, like, he can gash you down the middle for a ton of yards. Like I said, 11 catches, 116 yards with a touchdown. He got targeted 11 times, and he caught all 11 passes. And that's pretty impressive going against a Ravens defense.
A great defense. But we have world-class linebackers. We've got a great defense. Have we shown it in the first half of the last 2 games? Fuck no.
No.
Okay? We have not. But remember, just keep this in mind. We have the players. We have the talent. We've got Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I know we've got, I would say that our weak spot is Ambry Thomas at nickel corner, which obviously everybody fucking knows that. I mean, we don't have to say it. We know, but he's playing because who are we going to have back him up? Logan Ryan? I mean,
pretty much, yeah.
I don't trust Logan Ryan in the Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't. So I'd rather have Ambry Thomas out there. He's made enough plays. He made a huge play at the end of the 2021 season. I mean, he's not incapable of making big plays.
Yeah.
And then, we've got Demo and we've got Mooney on the corners, So I feel good about where we are. I love the fact that we've got Tarvarius Ward in this game because, he's a former Chief and, he's probably going to have a little juice to him too. And, we've got, I think we have missed Hufanga more than maybe people have thought. I loved him, man. I thought, he.
He's great, but I think Jair Brown is a better player, and I mean, he
not
made
yet.
So
not
many
yet.
tackles.
I disagree with you. He's not a better player right now. I think he has the potential to be a better player. I think Hufanga was a much better, more refined player right now, but it doesn't matter because
I mean, Jair Brown had 10 tackles in this last game. I mean, he was the main reason why, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs weren't running for like 40-yard runs. He would stop them once they got past the defensive line. The defensive line is what needs to improve because they're the ones that are giving up. What's that?
Let's give our boy Gibson some credit for knocking the ball out of
the
knocking that fumble out.
Oh yeah, that was huge. I mean, he had a really good second half. Yeah. He also had 6 tackles and a pass deflection and, of course, the forced fumble, which was like, oh, my God. When that happened, everyone knew, like, oh, my God, this is going to happen. We're going to come back. It was exciting as hell. But, I mean, look, what you're really playing against when it comes to the Chiefs is you're playing against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce. I mean, that's what you're playing against. And so when you look at them, I mean, like Pacheco, I'm not worried about him. He rushed for 68 yards. Either. But they have to contain him, though. They can't let this guy run for over 100 yards. That's going to fuck up the Niners' defensive scheme if they don't contain him. And so they got to really find out ways to do that because where the Niners are the weakest is from sideline to sideline, side to side. When they do their bubble screens, when teams do run to the edges, they can't seem to set the edge. And especially when it comes to Chase Young, he's been terrible at setting the edge. When we had Cleveland Farrell was much better at setting the edge and was good against the run. And then on third down, they would bring in Chase Young to replace him, especially on a passing down. And now we don't have that. And now Chase Young has been out there for the majority of the time. And you can kind of see how he's not setting the edge. And besides him, who do they have there? Randy Gregory, who actually has played really well. But Chase Young needs to step it up. He needs to do a better job.
Well, and Bosa. I mean, I know Bosa, he stepped up in the second half against Detroit. And he was probably the only guy that had any life to him in the first half, also on defense.
Daniel writes, the Niners are averaging 133 yards per game rushing in the postseason. The Chiefs are averaging 127. I mean,
I don't think, Daniel, I don't think this game's going to come down to the rushing attack. I mean, that's at least my belief. Like, I think it's going to come down to like you said. And it does scare me a little bit, like because we're dealing with Patrick Mahomes, but who's gonna come up with those big, kind of off scheduled plays when it matters the most. But I also think that we're gonna stop Pacheco. I do. I don't think he's gonna. I would if I was gonna bet. I won't bet this game because I don't bet against my own team or anything like that. But I would say Pacheco will be under like 80 yards, 85 yards. I don't think he's gonna.
Against the Ravens, he rushed for 68 yards, as long as it was a 12-yarder, and he averaged 2.8. Now the Niners need to ensure that he has a similar day to that, if not worse. If he goes over 100 yards, I'd be really worried if he's gashing the Niners.
I think this guy right here, and maybe it helps with my preview coming up. I think he's going to be the Super Bowl MVP right here. Okay. That's my early prediction. And I like the stat that Daniel pulled up because I do think that McCaffrey's going to run for about 140 yards in this game. I think McCaffrey's going to have a field day against this team. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him. And, he's just unstoppable. I don't care who is playing against him. Some of those runs that he had, that I don't know if you have it, but that run that sealed the game where, he got down the right sideline and then landed on his fucking head against Detroit. That to me was like indicative of who he is. Like he broke it. He comes off, he breaks a tackle. He breaks another tackle. He gets to the sideline. He bowls over 2 defenders and then he lands on his head and looks over at Kyle Shanahan and says, gives him the one because he's like, I need a playoff. And, Eli Mitchell comes in and scores the touchdown that, McCaffrey deserved that touchdown. But, that's neither here nor there.
Yes, I agree. It starts with CMC, but I don't want Kyle Shanahan to be so committed to CMC that he's like, run the ball. Okay, third down pass. It's like it's so predictable. We just need to be more dynamic in our plays, and they need to get CMC. They need to get Debo involved early on. They need to really show this this defense that we are a dynamic offense that has multiple weapons all over the field, and make them have to think, okay, how do we stop these guys, and who do we need to cover because our game plan isn't working. So aside from that, I did want to bring this up real quick. I know we're talking about the Super Bowl and all, but there's been a lot of talk about where is it? About Cam Newton and what he says about Brock Purdy. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Let me go ahead and pull that up right here. And this is his dumbass talking right here.
Brock Purdy was trash. What I did say is Brock Purdy is a game manager. That's not hate. That's just what I feel to be facts. But I still reserve the right to say this. To be labeled a game changer, Brock Purdy has to be the best player on the offensive side of the ball. And that's not the case.
And who's the best player?
Christian McCaffrey. Man, look, I ain't recanting shit. Go. And if you really want to just be honest, if you add in the defensive talent and you add in the offensive talent, Brock Purdy is the 10th best player on this team. Okay, cool. Did he have a great game? Yes. Is he been playing out of his mind? Yes. Is he a quarterback that's hot? Yes. But he's still the 10th best player on his team.
Ask his teammates. If you were to ask Brock Purdy's teammates, like if they thought he was the 10th best player on the did you say on offense or on the team? I don't know. Like I think they would like wholeheartedly disagree with it. First of all, Cam Newton, like go get that fumble that's on the ground in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
Cam Newton was a great player. I am not gonna like
he
challenge.
Was a great player. I think he had a good year.
For a couple years, he was a great player.
I wouldn't say he was great. I think he was a good player.
He was a pretty damn good college player. But
college is one thing, but Richard Sherman even says right here, I love Cam. I have a ton of respect for him, but come on. In your second year in the NFL, you wouldn't have been able, or you wouldn't have been the best player on the team, but no one would have put you down because of it. Judge him you would judge yourself in all these categories as a second-year player.
So here are my thoughts on this, dude. Okay, and we see this now with this new age of streaming and podcasts and YouTube, and I mean you could probably talk to Damon or Larry about this too. These guys, a lot of these guys are just saying something just to get the views, the clicks. He probably doesn't even believe what he's actually saying. And Ryan Clark from ESPN, did you hear what he said about Purdy last week? I mean, so these guys, they're just talking heads.
Exactly.
That's all they do. And I really don't think if Brock Purdy even heard or cared what Cam Newton had to say, I don't think it would make a world of difference in his life and the way he plays. Brock Purdy here's the thing about Brock Purdy. He doesn't do anything that's surprising anymore. Everything that he does in every single game does not surprise me. Like he is who he is. No, he is not Patrick Mahomes. No, he is not Lamar Jackson. No, he's not Josh Allen. He's not even Justin Fields. I'm telling you, Justin Fields is probably more talented than Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy has the Joe Montana factor.
He has the intangibles that some of these guys don't have.
You know what they used to call Joe Montana? You know what his nickname was? Chicken legs. You know why they called him chicken legs? Because his legs, his calves were like the size of a toothpick. When he came out of college, it was just like Brock. People were like, okay, we're just gonna knock him down and turn him into a pumpkin. It doesn't matter. What made Joe great, was that he was able to understand the game better than anyone, and he moved in the pocket. And he didn't have the strongest arm in the world, but it got better. And I've noticed, I don't know about you, Dre, but I've noticed that Purdy's arm looks better this year than it did before he had the UCL surgery.
I think so.
So I think, I'm not surprised by anything that this guy does. And like, I know that he's not going to do the things that Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson does, but he's going to fight out there. He's going to fight and claw.
Absolutely.
And he is going to lead this team to the fucking Super Bowl. I'm telling you.
And Sean writes, if that doesn't motivate a quarterback to prove his haters wrong, what will? I mean, they're already putting him down, so it's like it just gives him more fuel, that fire. And then just to put a cap on the Cam Newton bullshit, we have this right here, which clearly shows. Okay, so
here he comes, number 58, Von Miller against Mike Rivers one more time. Cam Newton didn't feel it.
Yeah, there
didn't
it is.
Step up. The football just taken out of his hand.
And Phil Simms calls him out immediately. He's like,
Well, it's not here. It's when he doesn't go get the ball on the ground.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Cam Newton decides not to dive in there.
And he backs away from it. He jumped away instead of jumping in.
And you're just like, what a joke. And then
he just didn't care. He didn't want the game.
At Iowa State, here's Brock Purdy. Give me the damn ball.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
Head first. So it's kind of like, dude,
he will kill himself to win a game, Brock Purdy. What more, what more do you want? Like what your listener just said, like, what more do you want in a quarterback? Like he's like that play, when he went down against and ran into Deebo Samuel on that play. Like there's nothing more that you would want in your quarterback than to fight for every fucking yard. That's what you want.
And I think that if you some of these players and some of these analysts are trying to put he's just another version of Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not. He's a much better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, this I thought was really interesting because this is Jed York talking yesterday, and basically talking about Brock Purdy at right when he was drafted. So let's listen to this real quick.
After practice, it's like, hey man, we got to talk, and that's generally not a good thing when your coach tells you got to talk. Like, all right, what's up? And he's like, I think our third string quarterback's our best quarterback. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, obviously, like, we've invested in Trey. Like, Trey's doing a good job. Like, we're going to do everything that we can. We're not going to change that, and we're not going to change the depth chart. But like, I think Brock will end up being our quarterback at some point. And like, he didn't force it, right? You had 2 injuries, and that's how Brock ended up playing. But he's always honest, even if it's not like one thing that owners don't love to hear when they've invested money and or draft picks or both into people, that the last pick in the draft is the guy that we think is the best. That's generally not great news. But he's honest, and he let it play out the right way.
Yeah.
Brock, ironically, I think his first game was against the Chiefs, and he had some mop-up time.
In garbage time.
Brock, I think he threw one ball into the stands, and, I may or may
Look at
not.
Tim Kawakami in the background. He's like, oh.
Close game. But when Brock took over last year, like, I think we had a calm about us, but there was a sense that, like, nothing catches you by surprise.
Right.
And again, like, you might not love everything that Kyle tells you, but he's always open and honest, especially in the moment. And he's very clear about that with me. It's like, look.
So, again, I think it's incredible to know that Kyle Shanahan from the get-go said he's our best quarterback. So he already knew this guy was really good. But they had invested all his money into Trey Lance, so who knows? But
there was a picture that kind of like circulated yesterday on social media. Did you see it? Like Brock Purdy sitting at his locker and Kyle was sitting there. I wish I had it, but it was his first year when Purdy just first was there, and he was the third string quarterback. And I think, they were in a tough spot. And you've probably spoken about this with a lot of guys. Like, they invested all those picks into Trey Lance. They had Jimmy. They couldn't, Kyle was looking for someone that he could trust that could run his offense. And, I think at first they thought Jimmy could and that Jimmy was the guy for that. But ultimately Jimmy just turned out to be just Jimmy. Jimmy's a pansy, dude. I mean, he's just not, and he's not mobile enough. Trey Lance was mobile enough, but he just wasn't ready, and may never be ready for that kind of a system. It was just too much to handle. And then from the gods, this kid from Iowa State, 4 years in college, just like, his coach at Iowa State just like had the most glaring reviews of him just as a leader, as a man, like his understanding, his grasp of the offense. And he comes in, and I remember Greg Papa saying this on KMBR, because even though KMBR's had their issues, I still listen to Papa and Lund. And Papa said Purdy's the best quarterback on this roster. He said that. He said that when Trey Lance was, going to start at the beginning of last year. And I think the reason why, because Papa knows, one thing about Papa is he knows football. Like, he knows the X's and O's like nobody I've ever heard. And he watches practice, and he could see that this kid came in and he studied. He grasped the offense right away. And then on top of that, he's got the ability to make those plays that those intangibles that nobody else on that roster could do. And Kyle saw that right away. And you know what? It doesn't matter if they invested all those picks in Trey Lance. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. They have him now, and he's on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
So there's they still have this juggernaut team around him. And that's why it's so important that they take advantage of this year and next year before his contract, before they have to re-up him, and make sure that they win a fucking Super Bowl with this loaded roster and a rookie contract quarterback that's playing like Joe Montana.
Papa checks all the boxes. Okay, so let's go into our final segment here, which is basically final score prediction when it comes to the Super Bowl in Vegas. What is your final score prediction for Chiefs versus Niners? Actually, it's actually Niners versus Chiefs. I thought it was the other way around.
It pisses me off, dude, because I really wanted the Niners
better
to
record.
I wanted us to be able to wear the home unis. I don't like the whites, but the fucking NFL, they have their alternate stupid ass shit. All right, man, I'm gonna come out and say it. I think, I think the Niners are going to get off to a better start in this game. I do. I think they're going to score first. I believe that. I think they're gonna be up like 13 or 13 to 10, something like that at the half. I think we win the game. I'm gonna go with the same number that we. It's kind of what I've been predicting in both these games. 34. 34 is kind of like a magic number for me. Because it's like for me, that's like the number the Niners need to get to win. It's like 34. I think we win this game 34-20, Dre. I do. Wow. I think we beat them by 2 touchdowns. I think Mahomes is like, dragging by his ass at the end of the game, trying to, make all these off kilter plays. I think we hit him a couple times. I think he does that stupid ass little limp off the field a couple times. But I think we're just too much for them. I before the Super Bowl in 2019, I was not confident. Like I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what was gonna, like, we were just too new to it, like we didn't have the experience. But now, like, we are so weathered. We've been through 2 games, Dre, that we should have lost. It's like we've got 9 lives, like we're a cat. We're gonna win this fucking game, and we're gonna do it 34-20.
34-20 is your final score prediction.
And we're gonna win our sixth Super Bowl Lombardi Trophy.
I like it. My prediction is going to be Niners win the game 24-21. I think it's going to be a really close game because you just can't count out Mahomes. I mean, I hope it's your score, but I think it's going to be a lot closer, and I think the Niners will pull it out. Near Cosa Nostra, where's my mouse? His prediction is 24-14 Niners. Because, remember, they only scored 17 points against the Chiefs. Against the Ravens. So, looking at some of the team stats, I mean, the Niners and the Chiefs defenses are pretty equally ranked in terms of like their defensive numbers. The Niners give up 20 touchdowns, Chiefs give up 19.
Yeah.
Niners give up 3,900 yards, they give up 3,400 yards. Niners are averaging 6.4 yards per pass. Chiefs are averaging 6. This is all defensive stats. So they're actually very close. They're very similar in what they do. Although interceptions are way higher. Niners have 22, Chiefs only have 8, and I think that needs to be a factor as well.
Oh yeah,
but
we're picking them off. We're picking them off in this game.
It all starts with the defensive line, and they have to make their presence known right off the gate. They cannot have games where the running backs are gashing them for 7 to 8 yard runs right at the beginning of the game. We saw that with Aaron Jones and the Packers, and we saw that again with the combination of Gibbs and Montgomery from the Lions, and that really threw them off their game. And, if it wasn't for, I feel, some bad calls by Dan Campbell and some drop passes by Reynolds, we don't get back in this game.
We lose. But I like Nerd. I'm sorry, I didn't get his name. Nerd. I like. Is it Nerd Costa? I like his Costa. I like his score too. I think that might be a little more realistic. But I'm just confident that, and I agree with you too. Like I think the Chiefs are definitely not the offensive team they are, but I think they are gonna. I think they're gonna move the ball a little bit against us. I just don't think that they can stop us. I think they probably believe that they can, but I don't really believe that they can stop McCaffrey. And I think McCaffrey is, I'll bring him one more time. I think, he's going to be the MVP of this game. He's going to rush for about 23 times, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he's the man. I think he's too strong. I think he's too willed. I think he's too confident. And he's just better. He's just the best. He's going to be the best football player on the field. I do believe that in this game. Christian McCaffrey. And we didn't have him before, He's the reason why we're here. Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. Don't forget that. He's the reason why we're here. And I know, people will say, "Oh, that's the whole reason why we don't like Brock Purdy." No, that's not a slight against Brock Purdy. It's just it's a blessing that we have Christian McCaffrey, who is he's just such a dynamic player, and he's a great receiver. Who's your MVP, Dre? You didn't give me your MVP, man.
MVP. Oh. It's to me. I mean, I still think that the MVP is a quarterback-driven category, so I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I think that he's going to step up and not make the mistakes. I mean, even that interception he threw, I mean, that was a bad one against the Lions, but I don't think he'll even do that. I don't think he'll have that.
To Rodriguez, moment. I can't believe a guy named Rodriguez got an interception. No, I'm just kidding.
And did I show you this one?
I didn't see that one. That's funny, dude.
I think the Niners are going to win it all on Super Bowl Sunday. But the thing that they have to remember is that they're not going to have a guy like Dan Campbell on the sidelines making stupid calls on 4th down. They're going to have Andy Reid out there. Yeah,
let's remember that Andy Reid, he's that dude is the man. So
he's the czar.
He's the czar. But it's time to put an end to it. Like. This is the Niners' time. It's the Niners' year. Everybody knew it coming in that this was it. This was our chance. This is our time. And Kyle, I hate to play the if game, but if the Niners somehow lose this game or just don't play well, and Kyle has something to do with it, man, I don't know. I mean, I know he's going to come back next year. Like he's not going to get fired, but man,
it's going to suck.
Kyle needs to win the Super Bowl.
He absolutely does.
He needs to win it.
And the Super Bowl, yeah.
And the Niners need to win it because it's been since 1994, and you and I were freaking 11 years old, or you were.
I watched that game. I remember watching that game all the way through. I loved it, but they've come close a lot of times.
I mean, let's just before you kick me off your show, I think The Super Bowl in 2012, was it 2012 against the Ravens? Yeah, I think it was 2012. I mean, that game was just so fucked up on so many levels, dude. Like Like we get off to such a bad start. Kickoff returns by Jacoby Jones, and then the lights fucking go out, which was great for us. And then we come back, and then it's like, we're gonna win the Super Bowl because we've got the ball at the 3-yard line and it's 1st and goal, but we give the ball to Frank Gore one time, and then we decide to throw 3 fade routes to Michael Crabtree. Like, great job, Greg Roman. Okay, and that game,
Roman, Jesus,
that game, Dre, that game hurt so much for me and for you, I'm sure, because like we had something special as Niner fans, which was like we had been to the Super Bowl 5 times and we had never lost, and then that's our 6th time there. We're about to win our 6th Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick, this amazing story, comes out of nowhere. And it's like, now we lose. And it's like to the Ravens and Ray Lewis. Oh, God.
And old Ray Lewis and old Ed Reed.
Lewis and Joe Flacco. Okay.
Flacco.
So there's that. And then we go into the, Jim Tomsula, Chip Kelly, it's like the garbage, and then we fight, and then Harbaugh leaves, or Harbaugh left, and then all that crap happened, and then Shanahan comes in, and we build this up, and we get to another Super Bowl, and we've got the damn thing, and it just implodes. So we've got 2 really bad fucking tastes in our mouth from these last 2 Super Bowls, and now we've got a chance to right all those wrongs and do it against a team that beat us, in the last Super Bowl, to get revenge and to shut up Taylor Swift. I know you don't want me to talk about it, to shut her up and to shut Mahomes up and his stupid wife. I hate them all.
They need to lose.
Yeah, man.
In the Super Bowl. Well, they lost to the Buccaneers. It's funny because when they lost to the Buccaneers, that was the way I thought the Niner-Chiefs game was going to go in 2019. But with the defense has absolutely dominated them. But
no, we weren't refined enough yet. Yeah. And we had the other thing about that game that I was watching. I was doing like film study on that game. I know it was very painful. But Richard Sherman had lost a step at that point. He really had in that he was pretty much at the end anyway. But he was not like staying with. He couldn't even stay with what's his name?
Tyreek Hill.
No, Sammy Watkins.
He couldn't stay with Watkins. Yeah.
So like that was an issue. There was a sideline play to Sammy Watkins that killed us. So like there were just too many. They had a great defense, but their secondary was not good enough in that game. Their secondary was not good enough in that. I'll take it back to that 3rd and 15. They stop them on that drive. They probably win that game. And I can't believe that Emmanuel Mosley like just blew a coverage like that. And this year, amazingly enough, I feel better about our secondary, other than Ambry Thomas. I really do. So I love Mooney Ward. I think Mooney Ward is a big time playmaker. And then Dre Greenlaw, dude. I mean, what can you say about Dre Greenlaw? He's the man, dude. And Fred Warner. What can you say about Fred Warner? He was fucking incredible in that second half against the Lions. So we can do this, man.
Do it in the first half, and that's what we have to do. And the offense needs to get going quicker as well. But Drew, I want to thank you for coming out here and talking Niners on the show. Do you have a Twitter account?
At DrewBoy6683.
Okay, I'll make sure to add you as well.
Nobody ever goes on it. I also go on another podcast with one of my former students. It's called the 3-2 Pitch, and it's called Undefeated Productions. And his name's Nick Pelster, and he does mainly baseball stuff. But man, he's got a great podcast going. So I just wanted to shout him out also. And you're doing a great job, bro. Keep it up, thanks, man. And go Niners, bro. We can
Niners,
do this,
dude. On to Vegas.
Oh, don't drink too much.
Vegas.
I hope they don't drink too much before the game.
Like, what's his name? Barrett Robbins. Remember that guy?
Barrett Robbins is nowhere to be found. Remember
He's off his meds.
The worst one was a guy named Eugene Robinson. It was in the Super Bowl it was Atlanta versus Denver in '99. He like raped the chick before the game, dude. like the
I
night
gotta
before.
get one last one in. No.
Yeah, and there was
That's
like
terrible.
like it was like hanging over them during the game. Like you got to go back and read about that. That was
Oh,
not good. So
God.
hopefully nothing bad happens. But I think the Niners are good. Thanks for listening, Cosa Nostra.
All right, guys. We will be live again this coming Sunday night with both Dre and Niner, or I'm sorry, with both Dre and Niner Dan, as we talk about the keys to victory against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I want to thank Drew for coming out here and talking to us about the Niners and about championship weekend and the Super Bowl. And guys, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the channel, you can also become a member or join us over on Patreon. I do appreciate everyone who's a member or over on Patreon. It means a lot to me and the channel as well. And we also have links to merchandise over on teespring.com. Those are all great ways to support the channel. And guys, until next time, go Niners.
Bang, bang, not a gang. Bang, bang,
On
not
to
a gang.
Vegas.
Bang, 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 bang.
And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.